going on, everybody? Seth Miranda here. This is Adorama Rewind. I did a little something different with the background today because I was inspired by a first story. Yet another dumb thing has happened on social media. It's been popular for people to do these gender reveals of like something that shows what they're having as far as a child goes. Let's not get into a gender debate on this one, but this is not cool. This gender reveal sparked a 47,000 acre, $8 million wildfire because they decided to do an explosion in this dry brush. And as you can see here, let me just play this video for you guys. Skaboom! And of course it went on fire and it spread fast. So what happened here? Well, this happened in April last year, but they finally settled it all down in September of this year, so it's kind of like just finishing out in the news now. Pretty much it cost $8 million to wrangle this fire down, and the guy pleaded guilty in a federal court and is paying $220,000 in damages and all this other stuff. He says he feels horrible about it, but we've reported about dumb things people have done on Instagram and other social media just to get photos, hurting environments and other things, or causing public disturbances. So I don't know what it is with civilians and causing this type of ruckus just to get some sort of 50 minutes of fame for their friends that go nowhere else inside their bubble, but it's got to stop in my opinion. In a positive note though, Instagram has added new features for the visually impaired. So what does this mean? Pretty much making available recognizing objects and what's happening in images to create an audio, and also the captions and things like that. So if you can't visually see what's going on Instagram, you can have it described to you based on what's going on in the images and things like that. It helps people that haven't been included in this platform be a part of it. Some people have actually given me some weird flack in an insensitive manner, being like, well, if you can't see, what's the point of Instagram? Visual is the most universal language there is. So if we can include more people in that and just see what, let them be included into knowing what other people find important to document, post, talk about, be part of the discussion, it's awesome. So I really applaud Instagram for that one. Another update, which is a pretty big one, especially for guys like me and Daniel who love Capture One. 12 just came out, redesigned interface, new tools, a bunch of stuff. So they changed a lot of iconography in it to make it easier to navigate around, faster color grading options, things like that. Also, it allows for Fujifilm simulation. So if you liked Velvia, Pro Via, all those films, they'll be inside the styles, which is friggin' amazing. And we know that some people stayed away from Capture One because it seems intimidating, like it's a pro software. There is a 30-day free trial. I'm telling you, it is one of the best softwares I personally have used. I love it. I don't care if you buy into it or not, but you should definitely know it is an industry standard in pretty much every studio I've walked into. And anybody that shoots here live basically uses Capture One. So you see me and Daniel use it weekly live. Give it a shot. I'm telling you, it's pretty awesome. In some other news, a friend of Adorama, the photographer, has taken to their blog to let you guys know that these companies are up for image rights grabs. So if you recognize any of these companies and you're involved with any of them, be a little weary. What's basically happening is, I'm going to leave this up for a little bit so you guys can poke around it. What's basically happening is that these companies are saying that if you upload your images to their platform, they can use them how they see fit. They can use them for commercial means, campaigns, things like that, without giving credit or any compensation. So you might see your images on a billboard one day, and some people might think that's awesome, but what if you don't believe in the same philosophy that that business that's using your images believes in, right? What if there's some conflict there? Also, we're kind of still in the Wild West here, so be aware of where you're putting your images, what platforms you're putting them on. Just watch that you don't build your house in someone else's backyard, okay? Sometimes that yard goes away and so does all your work. So be careful. Read this article. There's a lot of moving parts to it. I don't want to go too deep into it. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but I just want to keep you guys on the know of what's going on out there, especially with your images, especially in these times. In some like uplifting news, Sony has released a new firmware version 2 for the Sony a7 III, a7R III for lens adaptation. So what does this mean? Pretty much if you use adapted lenses, you're getting all the autofocus capabilities. So if you use the LA-EA3 mount adapter or the Metabones adapter and you want to use Sigma lenses and things like that, you basically get some new features. Well, you pretty much get like stability. You get support for zone, expand flexible, lock on air autofocus. You have better reproduction of gradation in RAW files, improves dimming stability under flicker light conditions, all sorts of stuff. Check out the link. Check out your, always check your gear for the latest firmware. I mean, there's always bugs being fixed or new features being improved. I mean, Fujifilm put out a firmware update. Next thing you know, their cameras had 4K capability. It was like, what? Also, there's also mixing with companies, you know, like here, lenses with bodies, two different manufacturers. Well, now they can work a little more in harmony with firmware updates. So check your firmware, okay? You'd be surprised what gear out there even has firmware. So go through your stuff and see what's going on out there. In more lens news, Mitakon Speedmaster 65mm 1.4 gives Fujifilm GFX users a 51mm f1.1 equivalent lens. So what is the big deal here? Well, for around $800, you can get a lens that is as fast as an f1.1 equivalent 51mm. So normally in medium format, without getting super nerdy on this, in medium format usually you have a shallower depth of field due to the nature of how we shoot, because the longer lenses are actually wider by nature, but they still have that space on it for the circle of confusion that's hitting your center of your film. Let's not get into that. Nerds, calm down. Pretty much, the GFX sensor is not actually a 645 medium format, and it's bigger than a full frame 35mm. It's somewhere in between. So it has the ability to get to the speed of f1.1 equivalency. So that's pretty awesome. Plus it's an $800 lens for a medium format system. That's awesome. It's also pretty cool because, especially in a place where we're at, where companies like Sony have said, hey, we can make an f1 lens in response to Nikon saying they can make an 065 lens in theory, but Sony's saying, well, people don't want that. There's no market for it. Well, maybe there is. Maybe people do want those type of lenses, and companies like this coming out of the gate with some crazy specs might show that there's a market and show how there's innovation that can still be made, and it just keeps pushing things. It gives us more toys and makes companies still keep their head wrapped around moving forward. That's the key. So maybe you don't need 065. Maybe Sony's not going to go near F1, but for an F1.1 equivalent on a medium format, that's sick. Let's calm down there. I'm going to get into the FStop wars, or whatever you want to call it, a little bit. In a little bit. Let's just take a minute and check out what's going on the Adorama channel. So Mark Wallace dropped this video, which seemed to be super popular. It's the getting shadows off the background, or controlling the shadows rather. He goes into super detail. I mean, Mark Wallace, the OG of education out there, the first Adorama host. He's kind of like Captain America, you know, the first Avenger. So my man goes into like super detail as far as the modifiers go, position of the model to the backdrop, how he's positioning the light, angle of light, what you're trying to do, zone systems of the exposure, things like that. So be sure to check that video out. And aside from the YouTube channel, because I know we're on YouTube right now, but maybe you want to check out some more content outside of our channel, we also have this, which is the Facebook. So what these videos are, they've got this huge bank going on right here. This is almost all live stuff that happened in the event space. This was me last night showing you guys how to do ghosting. Daniel did inexpensive lighting techniques. I showed a bunch of Cyber Monday deals out of nowhere, character lighting. Daniel did some more stuff. He showed you guys step-by-step tethering, which has been a huge topic of discussion for people in the event space. The photographer had Lois Greenfield here, which was awesome. Speed posing with Vanessa Joy, capturing emotive photographs with couples with Chloe. I mean, there's been such great content going on there that you might not be aware of because you're more of a YouTube type platform. Check that out, especially since it's live. You guys, when it happens, you can log in and start talking and ask questions on the spot, or get answers from those hosts right there in the comments. If you want to drop a comment in the video, I'm sure they'll see it. And just to wrap this up, going back to the FStop discussion, last week's comments on the 065 theory of the Nikon capabilities. Finks 2006 commented f1.2 is more than enough, so f065 is just ridiculous, at least in my opinion. Sounds more like marketing hype. Maybe it is marketing hype, but it's also a discussion, and it's also showing that companies aren't done thinking about where they can go, the innovation above, the next step, or what's capable, or what our abilities as creators are, or what we even want out there in our gear. I mean, the more they talk about it, the more they create, the more they innovate, the more it gets to our hands for us to use to create some stuff out there, or stop limiting us, or open up possibilities. I mean, yeah, there's marketing hype, but there's also just the idea of not being finished. And that means a lot to me as a photographer and a creator, and I hope it does to you as well. Also, a lot of the comments were basically saying, yeah, 065 is crazy, but you know, the sharpest part of a lens is 2 stops in. Well, even if you stopped in twice, the thing about mirrorless is that kind of isn't a factor anymore. They're claiming that at mirrorless, because the lens is closer to the sensor, you don't need to stop in 2 stops to get the sharpest part of the lens, that you could be as sharp at the widest aperture as you are all throughout your f-stops. Interesting idea. I'm personally not sure if that's 100% true. It is a discussion out there though, so that's something to keep in mind. Kind of crazy though. All Nikon had to say was 065, and then Sony had a response, and we're seeing lenses come out for the GFX, and you know, Leica's always had the knocked lenses, and it's just amazing where our technology is going and where our capabilities can get to. It's kind of amazing. So I hope you guys are excited as I am for all the gear that comes out there. You can be a fan of whatever system you want, but in the end, we're all winning, hands down, okay? So let's talk about some of the stuff in the comments. Are you guys sick of these gender reveals and stupid things on Instagram from people just causing a scene to get some attention? Are you someone that's visually impaired? Have you been waiting for something to come to Instagram so you can join the discussion? Are you excited for Capture 112? Are you a Sony user? Did you update your firmware? Is this autofocus adaptation for adaptive lenses going to affect you that much? Are you a GFX user? Do you think you'd want to get into this $800 Mitakon Speedmaster lens? I'm pretty excited about it. I'm definitely going to try it. That GFX 50R was so much fun to try out. Let's talk about some of the stuff in the comments. I will see you down there. Hit like, hit subscribe. I'll see you next week. All right, guys? Peace.